I don't think there's any other cycling YouTuber who has done more mileage on this bike than me this whole season. Let's get into my detailed long-term review of the Winspace G2. What's up guys, my name is Charles and welcome back to my cycling YouTube channel. In today's video, it's my detailed, long-awaited review of the Winspace G2. I've been riding this bike the whole season, since February all the way to now, November. 3,000 kilometers on this bike. I've brought it into every single conditions out there, into very steep gravel roads, into terrible single track mountain bike trails, into paved roads, to the top of the Muc-Off volcano as you probably saw into the movie. Man, I've given a beating to this bike. I tried to break it for you guys and it did not happen. So yes, this video will be my long-term review, but I also want to share all my experience of this bike, from the building, from the choice I've done for the components, from the error I've done with the components as well, and all the way to now where a year later down the road, I feel that this bike is one of my favorite out there. But before going on to my experience building and riding this bike, I would just want to give a little overview of the specs of it. So the Winspace G2 gravel bike is a frame ready to take any adventure. The G2 features progressive, confidence-inspiring geometry and clearance up to 50mm tires. So whether you're an experienced gravel racer or a roadie looking to get off the tarmac for the first time, the G2 is what you need. The G2 comes into 4 sizes from X small to large. It has a BSA threaded bottom bracket, seat post is 31.6mm and it is included. So the brakes are flat mount disc brakes, so you can either go 140mm or 160mm. For the derailleur, you can really mount anything from mechanical to Di2 to Campagnolo to SRAM. It really has no limitations. The tire clearance has a whopping 50mm on 700C, and if you're riding 650B wheels, it's up to 2 inches when you're riding the small, the medium, and the large. If you do go for the X small frame, the tire clearance is up to 35mm only. The frame alone weighs just over 1,000 grams, which is very light for such a beefy frame. Limited 3 years warranty, free shipping worldwide, and a retail price of $1,280 USD. If you stay until the end of this video, it might get even cheaper than that. Alright, so moving on from the specs, how did I decide to build this bike? And I've struggled with that a long time. I really want to go Di2 GRX, but after seeing the price tag, I kinda was on the fence investing that much amount of money for a gravel bike, which was actually my first gravel bike, so I was not too sure if I would have loved it. So I have scouted Marketplace and I found a really good deal on Ultegra Groupset hydraulic, and I've pulled the trigger on it. I've built this gravel bike with Ultegra, but I kind of regret it later down the road, but I will explain that later. Components wise, I went everything FSA, so FSA Handlebar, FSA stem, and FSA crank. For the crankset, I went with 4832, despite the recommendation saying that a 46 teeth for the big ring was the max recommended size, and I still went with 48 because I really wanted a bigger ring so I could go fast on downhill when racing this bike. But that led to a little problem with the frame later down the road. For the wheel selection, my choice went down on the Grapid again from Winspace because these are super affordable, $800 something wheels, and carbon, very stiff, very strong, very good for all the impacts, and it was just a no-brainer for me to go with this wheel set. Paired that with some Pirelli Cinturato mix 40mm Tubeless. That was a very good option. I had no puncture this whole season. It was very a peace of mind to know that I had such a strong wheel setup. The tires did not leak any air overnight. I've rarely put back tire pressure into the tires because the wheel, the Grapid, really keeps the air in because there's no tubeless tape. Alright, so before going on to the downside of this frame, I just want to recap here everything that I loved about it. So, first of all, it's its versatility. It's really one bike to do it all. If I had to choose between one bike in all of my inventory, it would be the G2. Because if you put on some road bike wheels, you can keep up with the boys on the tarmac. If you put beefy wheels, you can go on mountain bike trails, you can rip it. Let's go, Charles! Oh! Oh, wait! Let's go! If you put some in the middle, strong and fast tires like I've done in my IY bike trip, this Pirelli Cinturato Velo, you can really take this bike on the road, off the road, no problem at all. I just love all the mounting options. I was able to put 50 pounds of gear on this bike because it has so many mounting options. Over 12 mounting options actually, on the fork, on the top tube, on the down tube, on the chainstay, really like everywhere there's a hole for you to put bike packing gear, which is very nice and useful to have. And now I need to talk about how strong this frame is and how reliable it is on such harsh terrain. As you saw in the Hawaii movie, man, this bike took a beating up to the volcano. If you watch some of my previous gravel vlogs and gravel events, man, I've took this bike on mountain bike trails where, man, I don't even know how I was able to go over those rocks, how I was able to take so much impacts on the downhill. And this frame really had 100% of my confidence. I've never had any single doubt that the fork will snap or the handlebar will come loose or the frame will crack. None of these doubts ever crossed my mind when riding the G2 on harsh terrain. Alright, so now I want to talk about some of the components choice I've done that I kind of regret it. So first of all, when I had this good deal on an Ultegra hydraulic group set, the rear derailleur was a long cage, so up to 32 teeth cassette, and that ratio of 32 in the rear and 32 in the front was okay when I was riding here in Quebec because we don't have this steep amount of elevation. I mean, I was grinding a lot sometimes and I did get off the bike once or twice on these rides because it was just too steep. I was not able to spin the legs as much. But when I had to go to Hawaii, I had to change a bunch of components actually. So to be able to climb that Monterey volcano, I needed some easier gear. So I had to invest more dollar into this bike. I bought a GRX rear derailleur and I bought a Sunrace 11 to 42 teeth cassette. And thank God I've done this investment because I would not be able to climb that volcano. So I think I should have just went straight off the bat with this group set and this cassette. A 32 in the rear is definitely not enough for gravel. And now I'm very, very happy with that GRX and that cassette. Even though I'm running 2x and I have a front derailleur, I still have the clutch on that rear derailleur to minimize the chain slap. Also another error at first, but turns out now I'm very happy with it, is that front chainring. So as mentioned on the G2 product page, they suggest a maximum of 46 teeth in the front for the chain set, and I went with 48. So 48 fits, it will fit. It works for me, but as you will see here, at first, when I had some chain drop, the chain was getting stuck in between the chainstay and that big chain ring. So I had to get off the bike to wank the chain off of that spot, and it did damage a lot the paint of the bike. The gap here is like either too small or too big, so the chain goes by, but it doesn't go out. So I have to yank it. Just scratching the paint there, but yeah. But at that place, I don't really care. It's hidden behind the crankset, but it did damage the frame. The good news is that now that the paint has been taken off by the chain over there, it doesn't do it anymore. So it kind of sanded down, and now it just leaves that slightly enough space for the chain to pass. So 48 works, but it might damage your paint for the first couple months, but then it will be just like mine. It will not get stuck anymore, and that problem will just disappear. Another bummer that happened building this frame is it actually comes from a very nice feature. So the Winspace G2 offers the possibility to build it fully internal. So if you're rocking hydraulic brakes, you can pass them through the stem, pass them inside of the frame, and there will be no cables showing outside of the frame, which is great. It's awesome, it looks good, it's more aero. But at some point, I kind of wanted to change the stem. I wanted a shorter stem to maybe have Gabriel test out the bike. But since I'm running the hydraulic cable inside of that stem, if I want to change it, I need to dismount pretty much everything, remove the hydraulic cable, change the stem, and then rebleed everything. So that's a bit of a restriction, a bit of a bummer for me. I should have the cable external because at that point, it's a gravel bike. I don't really care that the cables are internal, just like my road bike. So lesson learned for a gravel bike, I don't think that internal cabling is a must. I feel it's just a little bit restrictive down the road if you want to lend the bike to a friend, if you want a shorter reach, longer reach. It's just too limiting, so yeah, should have run them external. All right, so now what are all the components that made this frame such a pleasure to ride? And I feel it's the handlebar. I've went with this FSA K-Wing handlebar. It's carbon, it's flared out, it has those very nice flat tops here on top when you grab the hoods. It's so comfortable. It also rises up here when you like hold the bar close to the stem when climbing. And that handlebar, even though it's quite expensive, is 200% worth it. It really elevates my experience of riding the G2. The flare drops are very nice. It adds a lot of stability when riding downhill. The tops here, very comfortable when climbing all day, especially release some pressure into the lower back. And I'm very happy about this build. I'm also very happy that I went with hydraulic brakes. I could have went with mechanical disc brakes on a budget, but when it comes to a gravel bike, you're taking this into very, very bad conditions and you need very good brakes. You need powerful braking. And I feel that if you build a gravel bike and you intend to race it or you intend to ride it into very harsh conditions, you have to go hydraulic brakes. Winspace do offer this very, very, very budget group set with all Chinese parts on their website. It's around $560, and man, it comes with Sensei SRX Pro derailleur and shifters, a bottom bracket, a crank, chain, cables, calipers, saddle, everything. That's very nice to build a budget G2, but if you really want to have fun with this bike, invest with a GRX. But if you just want to have a gravel bike to take it out here and there a few weekends in the summer, that fully Chinese build can be an option. All right, so now what is my true experience riding this Winspace G2? Well, I feel that Winspace really nailed it. This trains really cover anything. You can build it the way you want, you can ride it the way you want, and there's just no limitation, and the price point is just so great that it's a no-brainer for me to be a second bike into your quiver or just to be your one bike to do it all. I don't even think there's any bike on the market that offer this amount of versatility when it comes to a single bike. Yes, there are bikes that offer great bike packing features, but they lack some features for fast and racing. And there's other racing bike on the other end that offers very nice arrow shape, aggressive position, but they lack that bike packing all around experience. And there's also other bikes that offer great comfort, but they're very slow on tarmac, and you cannot really transform that bike into a road bike if needed. So yeah, Winspace really nailed it for that G2 bike. I'm very happy I've taken this bike with me all summer long, and I don't really see any other bike on the market that can take this spot from the G2 as my #1 gravel bike at the moment. There's no other bike on the market that I think will be as versatile and as good as that one. So if this long-term review of my Winspace G2 gravel bike convinced you to jump into the gravel world and build a bike the way you want, if you want to put your hands on this bike, it's very inexpensive for a fully carbon fiber gravel frame. It retails at $1,280 USD, and if you use the code CharlesWimet10, you're going to get a 10% discount on top of that at checkout. So with this discount, you can grab yourself maybe a set of Grapid wheels or just more money for you to invest in better components. As I always mention, I do receive kickbacks from that sales. Winspace has been helping me out for this YouTube channel for the last 1.5 years, and I'm very happy to be riding their bikes because their customer support is amazing. They do very nice product at such an affordable price that no other brands on the market can match. It's good. It's very good. It's good. I have nothing else to say, guys. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a thumbs up, subscribe if you aren't already. And my name is Charles, and I will see you guys on the road or to the next video. Peace.